So then I did my research. I looked at the chart, and the chart was like this. So I was like, well, that's a bad fucking chart. I don't want to invest in that. Or is it a buy the dip opportunity? All right, what I do? Okay, so what I do is I have no life. I spend most of the night just looking at while I'm in the bed. I look at Yahoo Finance, I look at CNBC, I look at Wall Street Journal, look at Bloomberg, I look at all those things. I look at different articles and look for like trends and stuff at night. So I don't really look at individual stock stuff at night because everything changes as the Asian markets open up and stuff like that. And then in the mornings I look at the first thing I do when these guys see me at 4 o'clock in the morning in Discord, because I don't fucking sleep, the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at Asian market news because the Asian market is open. I'm trying to see what the gauge is, because remember, a lot of people think the Asian market precedes the U.S. market, but it's opposite. They actually are after the U.S. market because, obviously the day comes around. So I try to look at where the news is there and where the economic numbers are, because Asian markets, because our market is so tech driven, right, is so tech driven that and Asia is so much of that I have to keep an eye on that, because I know that if Asian markets are dipping because of something to do with like tech or supply chains or whatever like that, it's going to affect the U.S. market, because that's when the news comes out, because right now they're asleep, right? So it's very important to keep up with that. It kind of gives me a gauge. Then at 6 a.m. I start going through the U.S. market news, upgrades, downgrades. I start going through offerings. I start looking at that. Then around 6:30 to 7, I start looking at headlines that are starting to pop out about things that are in Europe, because European market's open now. So I look at legalization of this, Brexit issue here, lockdowns in Austria. I look at inflation data from the ECB. I look at I try to look at that. Then from 7:30 to 8:30, it's impact news of U.S. market stocks. So, who got upgrades and downgrades? Where are the drug emergency use authorizations, orphan drug status? Who gets that? It's a process. There's not like one thing I can tell you, but that's what I go. That's why I go through that, because I day trade as well as invest. So investing, what I like to do is when I take a piece of news, right? So what I'll do is how I come up with investment. I don't invest long term off of one headline. That's just stupid. That doesn't work. That might pop that day and die for the next 6 months. So what I do is I have a very good memory, and if you don't have a good memory, you can always write it down or keep a journal. And if there's a sector or a specific stock or something you like, you just take little tidbits, right? So what I'll do is, like, for example, INVZ, right? I didn't know anything about INVZ until I read the headline about the LiDAR for autonomous vehicles in China, right? That's great. That's great. But what does that mean? Does that mean anything? Is it a small company? Is it a big company? How many vehicles does China have? Whatever. Like, what is the background? So then I did my research. I looked at the chart, and the chart was like this. So I was like, well, that's a bad fucking chart. I don't want to invest in that. Or is it a buy the dip opportunity? So then I go from seeing the headline to going to the chart. Chart looks like trash. So then I say to myself, okay, how big is this company? So then I go and I look at the numbers of it. I say, okay, can they fulfill these orders, or can they, based on their valuation now, is this something that could get hype or whatever? Then I look at the sector. I look at LiDARs. LiDARs ran into February and they all dove down, because a lot of people are thinking maybe LiDAR isn't the best technology for this. And some people are saying it is. It's just in its infancy stage right now. It's only going to get better. Okay, now let's look at recent headlines on China and their move into autonomous vehicles. Okay, I wrote this down, or I remember this from before. Buses. They're already launching full autonomous buses over there, right? They're already doing that. Well, if they're already doing that, they've already got these on the road testing, that means this technology isn't down the road, it's already starting. Okay, what is their pledge? What recent infrastructure, investments has the government made into this, right? Well, we know that they did $5 billion into XPEV, right? So we know that they're big into the EV sector. We looked at the high-speed rail. They're moving into the high-speed rail, and with that high-speed rail, they're looking for full electric and autonomous. Okay, so we know that there's several billion going into there. So then I start looking around from there and say, okay, so we got that. Okay, INVZ. Is there a history of any clashes with the CCP? Because the CCP likes to fuck with companies that aren't in bed with them. You Google up INVZ CCP, INVZ INVZ, you look up, you don't see it. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got that checked off. Now let's look at their supply chain. Where do they get their stuff from? Is it from international or is it within the country? It's from within the country. So now we don't have to worry about shipping in it. So I do all this and I say, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest in that. And now, so it doesn't mean it's going to go up, but all of those things gave me a reason why I took leaps on this. And now, I got lucky, but it's up 65% shares in 3 weeks, and options are up 130%. And these are leaps that I have.
So it sounds like you kind of start with more mainstream news outlets and then let that kind of lead you into deeper digging and due diligence.
Yeah, because I'm not going to put money in the long-term investment if it's not something I believe in, right? Me playing a scalp on an option play on the news that, Chamath, dumped 15% of his SoFi shares, right? To raise capital. But at the same time, he's upping his stake in CLOV, knowing that CLOV is also a meme stock that could potentially run at any time. All it needs is a catalyst. What could the catalyst be? Chamath buying more shares of a company, which just now gives retail traders that copium they need to buy in again. Also, it just hit an all-time low of $5. You put those three things together, that tells me, hey, this could have a run today or Monday. I don't want to hold over the weekend, so I'm not going to, so I'm going to attempt to scalp it today. If it's not running by the end of the day, I'll let it go. If I'm a share player, now I might buy shares of CLOV, hoping that all of the other shit going on right now has investors sitting on the sidelines, hoping and waiting that they get some more information about the Fed chair, about the passing of the bill, inflation numbers, maybe there's COVID updates over the weekend, yada, yada, yada. And if everything is fine, the market is bullish, or even if it's choppy and people need a place to look for money, CLOV could run, because there you go. Meme stock, catalyst, all-time low, that could be it right there. So there's a difference between finding a momentum or a scalp or a, general directional play off of what you see or think or whatever based on these catalysts and retail traders and knowing about meme runs versus finding an investment. There's no way for me to look at you and say, this is how you do what I do. I'm just one guy. Everyone has their own way of doing it, and I don't even tell you guys in the morning call what you should or shouldn't buy. I just tell you what I see based on all those things I look at, and this is my one guy's opinion. Use it for your own catalyst, to your own platform, springboard to your own research. Just use me as a starting point, because a lot of people roll out of bed and they either A, don't want to do any research, B, they don't give a fuck, they want to gamble, so they're just going to grab whatever stock he's going to grab, or C, they don't want to spend a lot of time looking for what they should be looking at because they're either not experienced or they don't want it. So they're like, fuck it, I'll give this guy 75 cents. I'll get a whole list of a whole bunch of shit. That'll start me, and then that'll give me at least a place to start looking at, and then that might lead me down other lines rather than just trying to look for everything at once. I'll just use this guy's fucking ADD and his no sleep, time frame.